Well, there's old Major Pearson over there, look. Bit of Jersey history. He was celebrating his death a few weeks ago because it was the January the 6th was the day he got killed, by the modern calendar, some would say. 1781. History, it's all around us, isn't it? All these buildings. There's old George II up there. He's the statue in the Royal Square. He's solid gold, of course. But do we really ever think about what he's standing there for? Why did the Germans leave him there? Why didn't they put a picture of a statue of the Kaiser or Adolf or somebody and replace him? Why didn't they do that? Why did they leave old George? Of course, he was of German origins, wasn't he? So maybe that's why they did. So I'm interested in history. Some people think it's a load of cock and bottle, but I'm interested. I'm here to have a look at a few things today. See that little shop there, Gallichon's the jewelleries. Established 1845. Is it significant? It's still there? I don't know. Let me go and look at a couple of things. That's a very interesting little plaque on the wall there. The Jersey Chamber of Commerce, 1768 it was founded. With a bit of history. Of course, it was founded in 1768 because they wanted to put the merchant trade here on a regular footing. What they really meant, they wanted to reduce the smuggling because, or at least they wanted to appear to be reducing the smuggling because the English government was trying to impose English customs here to control it, because there was a huge amount of smuggling used to go on from the Channel Islands. And as we all know, it was a pretty rotten government then in 1768, and the Jersey, what they call the Corn Riots, took place in 1769. But the ferment was, a lot of it was promoted by the merchants who wanted, they controlled the price of food, but it was a totally autocratic government, totally corrupt. The royal court ran things basically. So it's about liberty, freedom, democracy. That, in fact, the Chamber of Commerce failed fairly soon afterwards, and it had to be reformed again, refounded. But that's what it was. It was this. It was the interference, as they called it, from the UK government. They didn't want customs officers here. Basically, they wanted to carry on smuggling, but the former Chamber of Commerce, they thought at least it would look good, and that's what they would do. Don't touch us, we're regulating ourselves. That's what they said, but there's something else. In this building, I don't know if Chamber of Commerce are still here, but just on this same building, there's something else. Yeah, there's this sign here, and it's always fascinating me. I don't know if this business is still here. Obviously, it's still very active in the island. The Liberation Group. I've always thought it's a very strange name to call a business, Liberation. Because liberation to me is all about democracy and improving things for the public. No, I don't know. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the Liberation Group, but it's just the name, that idea. On the one hand, we've got the Chamber of Commerce, and then we've got this, which is a big business in the island now, the Liberation Group, very big business. And I wonder how they could we do an audit on the big employers of Jersey to see how democratic they are and how they adhere to human rights, because that's one of the themes we're coming up to Holocaust Memorial Day. and it's one of the themes which is buzzing around in my head. How do we celebrate Holocaust Memorial? An old friend down there, 1781, Battle of Jersey, Major Pearson, all these ingredients, the king on his statue, what do they all really mean? What is the mix they're trying to tell us? What's the message? Oh, here's an ancient door. It's not so old, in fact. This is the States building, the centre of government. This particular building is not ancient, but up above it, there's this, what I like to see this. This is the coat of arms. It used to be over the door of the old royal court, which was the government, in 1769, when there was a revolution of sorts, peaceful revolution, and the public stormed the royal court, and one of the issues that was raised was the question about customs officers, not much mentioned, and there was a merchant faction involved. They still had their voice, and there was a merchant called Nicholas Fio who was involved. Was probably not a very nice man, but he wasn't as bad as the old bailiff of the time, the Lemprières, or he was actually a jurat acting as a bailiff, because the bailiff was a Descartes who was an absentee. But we don't got many memorials to bailiffs, but next door, here's one here. This is the guy who was Jersey bailiff during the occupation, and later became Lord Coutances. There he is. There's not many statues to Jersey bailiffs, and very few people can name previous bailiffs. I doubt if there's many can name the bailiff today, and very few people actually know what the bailiff does. But he's supposed to be the most important person in the island. So it's all a little bit weird, isn't it, really? This is him. Well, here's a little bit of text to tell you what happened here. The end of the occupation and the rebirth of liberation. 1945, and there's obviously you've got to have a monument. Little group of people celebrating what were they? Well, obviously it was nice to say goodbye to an occupying force, but 75 years later, what do we do about it? This is Liberation Square. What do people actually know about the word liberty, liberation? What does it mean for people? Does anybody really think about it? Well, here it is. The message is everywhere, you see. This is a double-decker bus. It's the Liberty bus. Well, this is the Liberation Station. You can draw your own conclusions. What it's a station, whether it's going anywhere, a stationary station. In fact, it's the bus station, isn't it? It used to be a railway station years ago. And we've got this extraordinary bit of street art, which is the face of liberation. We're all part of the story, it says. And it's got a text there which all helps to have a bit of information, written information, which people can study at their leisure, but not on a cold day like today. Thousands of pictures of ordinary people. Is that enough, though? Liberation. Does it mean nothing more? Do we think about it? All these people here, do they have any understanding Do they have any understanding? I mean, we haven't got liberation at the moment, have we? COVID-19 is the last thing we've got. So it's something special circumstance which may go on for many years to come, yet we do not know. But there you are, it's a theme, isn't it? Liberty, liberation, Holocaust Memorial Day coming up, Battle of Jersey we celebrate, the Jersey riots, Reform Day 1769, the role of the Crown officers, the bailiffs. What does it all mean? What's the thread? What joins it all together? Where's the culture? Where's the tradition? Who can explain it all? Who's a reliable source of information on all this? Well, as has been pointed out to me by a learned member of the public, I might have missed it, this lady is that young girl, and she's the girl who features in the picture with the thousands of pictures. She's the one that's been enlarged in the middle. She's still alive, she's in her 90s now. So she's a survivor of the occupation, and I expect she'll have a tale to tell, and I hope she's told it. And there's another lady here, look, Maureen, who was 5 years old. People who were here during the occupation, they survived. These are the survivors, but I'm especially concentrating on the meaning of liberation, bearing in mind we have all these various celebrations, 75 years of the liberation, which had to be more or less cancelled this year because of the COVID, the Holocaust Memorial Day, which is coming up the 27th, which will be celebrated in a small way on the 27th of January. What's the missing link in our knowledge? Why is it we don't? Is there a book on the whole subject, joining it all together with current human rights thinking? Is it made simple for people to understand what's the significance of liberation? This is what I'm wondering about.